Welcome everyone to Beyond the Adventure. Today's episode is Eastern State Penitentiary, and let's get started. So for the opening shot here, I want to show you guys the penitentiary. The penitentiary is located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and it takes up a couple of city blocks. There is parking all the way around, but for those of you that have a bigger vehicle or there isn't spots available to park around, there is also a parking lot, which was pretty cheap, which is where we ended up parking. Anyways, walking into the prison here, for those of you that don't know what the penitentiary is, it was built in the early 1800s, and it was really a model for other prisons in the country, I guess other prisons in the world, where they would favor isolation of the individual and rehabilitation over incarceration in a mass population where, nobody really got individual treatment. There was nobody looking after people to figure out why they were committing these crimes, why they were ending up here in the first place. Anyways, the penitentiary is a National Historic Landmark. It has since been closed, as you will see later on in the clips. There is a couple spots that is really deteriorating. There is a fee if you guys want to go in there. If you have a camera and you want to bring a tripod in with you, there's a $15 fee to use a tripod. So I decided to leave the tripod at the customer service desk or whatever you want to call it. Anyways, when you go into this prison, there is an audio tour that they give you. They give you a set of headphones and this little like MP3 player, I guess it would be. And as you go to certain spots in the prison, there are certain numbers that you press, and it tells you a little backstory, which really coolly, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The really cool thing is that Steve Buscemi, this guy right here, this actor Steve Buscemi, however you want to pronounce it, narrates this. Really neat. So this is one of the first spots that you walk in once you actually, pay the admission, get inside of the prison. This is a hallway here that shows you pretty much how the early cells were built, how they didn't really have these doors here. They had a back door to get into the cell where they would load the prisoners through a wall in the back and then seal it off. These are just old pictures and stuff of how prisons really were up until this point in time. And like I said, this prison here, as you will see in a couple of minutes, there are just massive corridors of cell blocks, similar to something that you'd see at Alcatraz or similar, massive prisons. What you view as a prison today, this is pretty much what set the foundation for them. People got their individual cells. They didn't just throw them all in together in a giant, melee battle royale type of situation. I did find it really cool and also eerie that a lot of the stuff like the beds, tables, chairs, everything like that is just sitting in these cells, and you're not really allowed to walk into them. There is a bar that kind of blocks the midsection of them. Some of them you are allowed to walk into, but I just thought that was cool. The numbers of 666 on the door, just the iron work of the door. See right here what I'm talking about. You can see all the old radiators worked into the cement of the wall. That little cutout that you see in the back there is how they actually pushed the prisoners into the cell. That's how they brought the prisoners into their cells. They weren't going through this main entrance way here. But you can see the beds and everything. And something that I found really shocking was I didn't expect the ceilings to be as high as they were. They weren't really concerned about heating or, environmental factors back in the day. They could care less if the prisoners were freezing to death, is what I've been taught over the years. But the fact to have such large ceilings that kind of just, make you feel like you have even more space than you really do. Granted, the cell is very small, but when you have a roof that you can reach up that high to, it makes me wonder if you really would feel like a prisoner inside of there. Sure, hearing the screams of the other prisoners and, the daily routine would reassure that you are in a prison cell. But nonetheless, this was pretty much left in the original condition. You can see there are spots that they, started working or replastering walls, things like that. I don't know what this was, but there was something shiny and silver over there on the shelf. Everything else was just dusty. And anyways, moving out here, getting to this part, you're going to see there's a lot of like windows broken. There's walls that are starting to crumble down where, it's exposing to the outside. This is open 12 months out of the year. I believe it's open like 360 days out of the year. Like every single day this place is open for tours. So if you are in the Philadelphia area, you like history behind jails or mobsters, things like that, this is definitely a place that I would recommend checking it out. As you can see here, it was absolutely frigid. They had this heating element up on the ceiling there, and there was a person in there that was, discussing things about the room, and they have a plaque for soldiers that had fought in the war that were also imprisoned there. This, to me, I know this is Eastern State Penitentiary, but the first thing that came to my mind when looking down these massive hallways was I just thought of like Alcatraz, or for those of you that play the Call of Duty video game, I thought of the zombie level from Black Ops where you are on Alcatraz. I just was awestruck by this place, by the sheer size of it. You know, you would think a prison, you would want it tight and confined spaces, but no, these were really tall ceilings. And like I said, here you're starting to see corridors that you can't really walk down. They have them blocked off and they're just falling apart. That is what I was talking about, the Army and Navy and veterans, more so to say, that were imprisoned in this prison. Now, as I continue down this hallway here, you'll see there's even more and more that's beginning to get exposed. This was kind of weird. There was just like one cell that had this iron grate in front of it. Every other one was opened up like this. So here we are coming out to the main courtyard area here. Now the walls were something like 30 feet tall from the ground level, and then they went an additional 10 feet below the ground level, so a total of 40-foot high walls. You really can't see anything. Once you're in there and you start to look up, you can't see any buildings off in the distance. It's not until you turn and look at something from a far point away that you actually do see. Like right now, you can't see any of those massive skyscrapers that you just saw a second ago. That was just one of the doors leading up to, that was like the main guard station there. This was cool, I thought. It's the tuberculosis yard where they actually put all the prisoners that were sick and, you know, locked them down in there, but it's not like they really had any biohazard protocols or anything like that back in the day, so the disease would easily have spread. This was a corridor that they used to bring people down to. It was very, very tight. I'm 6'4", just about 6'4.5", and that was extremely, extremely cramped to get in there. This is another spot like the other one where it's closed off. You can see how the elements are starting to come in. They have nets up there to prevent birds from landing and nesting and everything like that in there. This is an exhibit of, if my memory serves me correctly, these were all people that were murdered that worked at the penitentiary. I believe, don't quote me on that, guys. But anyways, here's what really just was amazing. Just looking at these walls just crumbling down to the outside, just really seeing how thin they were. These people, you know, with enough force could have made it through there. This was a cool shot too, just showing 3 corridors. Now it was kind of like a center spoke, like a wheel. There was a round part in the center, and then all the different long corridors stretched out. This, to me, was very reminiscent of some, you know, like concentration camp. I would guess would be the word to say that, just the tight corridors, everything like that. This right here is the infamous Al Capone's cell. As you can see, he lived a luxurious life compared to the other prisoners. Like this cell right here, there's a pair of pants left behind, an old table and things like that, but Al Capone had everything. He had a rug, he had a sofa, radio. They actually said some of the, ending out the episode here, they said some of the prisoners actually would get headsets that they could plug into jacks in the wall to listen to the radio being broadcasted, which I thought was really cool and kind of technologically advanced for that day and age. But anyways, guys, that is going to do it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and I will see everybody tomorrow for Thungry Thursday, Beer of the Week. Peace.